Hello everyone and welcome back to Phasmophobia. The Tier 3 equipment is generally the best equipment in the game, and some of these items require a very high level to unlock. They do build off of the previous tiered items, so I highly recommend watching my Tier 1 and Tier 2 equipment guides before watching this, as I will assume everyone watching this is familiar with the general uses of these items. The Tier 3 dots now covers more area and rotates after being placed, providing a wider range and bigger areas. It works best if it is placed on a wall or other vertical surface, though technically you can place it on the ground as well. If you wish to cover a whole room with continuous dots projections, you can place two of these devices on opposite walls from one another, placing them until they are synchronized. This will make it easier to see when a ghost enters its dots phase, but obviously will only work as intended if you are in a room that isn't too large. The Tier 3 EMF is, in my opinion, one of the best upgrades of the game. It will not only show you the level of EMF being given off by an interaction, but it'll also give you the direction the interaction occurred and how far away it happened if you are near the signal. In order to detect an EMF reading, you need to be 3.5 meters away from the interaction. Then, an arrow will appear to show you the direction. The bars here will show you if it is an EMF 2, 3, 4, or 5, and thus you can actually detect 3 different EMF signals at once. As always, interactions will give off an EMF reading for 20 seconds before disappearing. Similar to the upgrade from Tier 1 to Tier 2, the ghostwriting book at Tier 3 has only been given a greater range at which the ghost will be able to interact with it, and it has a higher chance to be written in. The Tier 3 motion sensor no longer gets placed on the wall, but it can be placed on the floor to get a signal. It will beep and shine a light in the direction of the ghost when the ghost either enters or exits the range of detection. One of the biggest improvements is that this motion sensor will no longer be set off by players, and only by the ghost itself. This includes players that are dead too, so it's easier to know when the ghost is actually nearby when you are playing on multiplayer. One challenge you may face is trying to use the Tier 3 motion sensor to do a wraith test, as it is harder to cover the area of the circle the motion sensor now has than it was to place a salt in the line covered by both the Tier 1 and Tier 2 motion sensors. I recommend placing the salt piles around the motion sensor in either a triangle or a square, making sure they overlap a little bit. Then, if the ghost is frequently moving in and out of the motion sensor range, we'll be able to decide whether or not you think the ghost should have stepped in one of the piles. Additionally, if you pick up the motion sensor when it is placed and the ghost was inside the circle, it will flash and shine in the direction the ghost had been if you then go and place it somewhere else. In this example, I had the motion sensor placed in the ghost's favorite room when I moved it here. The ghost was still throwing things in the kitchen and hallway area, so it could not have been by me. Yet, when I placed it, it lit up. This could lead you to think the ghost is near you when it is actually not, so I recommend ignoring a flash if it happens immediately after you place it, after moving it around the map, just in case the flash was not caused by the ghost itself. To get a response on the Tier 3 spirit box, you now just need to be within 5 meters of the ghost with the lights off. The chance of getting a response is supposed to be higher, and the responses you will get now sound clearer. If you are using voice recognition and your game is showing a red light near the mic input, that means it is not recognizing your voice when you push to talk. If it turns white, that means it is recognizing your voice. If the lights under response turn red, that means you have asked a valid question but did not get a response. If the lights under response turn white, you will then hear an audible response. Here's a tip if you are struggling to get the game to recognize your voice if you are using the Windows voice recognition. Try refocusing the game by tapping your Windows key twice. Sometimes, this will fix any problems with the game not using your microphone correctly. If this still does not work, try switching over to Vosk to see if this improves anything. Vosk is supposed to be more reliable and less likely to break if you tab away from the game, but I always struggle to use it as it seems to only register my voice approximately 50% of the time. If neither of these work for you, even after you have confirmed your microphone is set up correctly, you can reach out for support on the official Phasmophobia Discord server, or switch over to the text voice recognition option. The Tier 3 thermo works exactly the same as the Tier 2, where you have to press and hold your primary use button to test the temperature in the room. Now, it just does it faster, and the temperature will remain visible after you have released your mouse button. The Tier 3 salt is a great upgrade, as it now has more uses than just checking for UV footprints. When placed, the ghost will be prevented from stepping over the salt pile outside of a hunt, so it can actually be used to keep ghosts trapped in their rooms if they attempt to roam. One pile will cause the ghost to basically stop and turn around once, but be careful when stacking the piles. If they are stacked directly on top of each other, the ghost can hit all 3 piles at once, meaning it will only be prevented from leaving the room once. So if you are trying to stop a ghost from roaming, I recommend either placing them staggered so it'll only hit one at a time, or place another pile down only after the ghost steps in the first one. During a hunt, the ghost will not be stopped by the salt piles, but they will be slowed down for roughly 3 seconds after walking through them. This can be used to your advantage if you are trying to loop a ghost and want to keep its speed down for a little while. If you place them too close together, the 3 seconds for each pile will not stack, so you could end up losing some of the effect. Thus, I recommend spacing them far enough apart so the ghost is back at full speed before it hits the next pile. Just keep in mind that the ghost will still be increasing speed if it is in line of sight of you, so it may come out of its slow period even faster than it was before. The Tier 3 UV is just a brighter version of the Tier 2, and it will charge fingerprints and footprints to keep them visible for photos in only 1.5 seconds. The video camera at Tier 3 has the same chance of being thrown as all other cameras if not placed on a tripod, but it does suffer from less distortion if the ghost does an event or is hunting. It is supposed to give a clearer view, but I personally think this night vision offers basically the same view as the Tier 2, so this one just ends up taking up more screen space without offering too many advantages. The Tier 3 tripod is the least likely tripod to get knocked over by the ghost, so it is a great addition. The Tier 3 Crucifix now has a 5-meter range, making them cover a huge area compared to the other tiers. Generally, it will prevent 2 normal hunts apiece, but it also has the capability to prevent 1 cursed hunt. If the Crucifix is unused and within range of the ghost when you trigger a cursed hunt from using a cursed item, the entire Crucifix will be burned and the cursed hunt will be prevented. However, if the Crucifix has already been burned once, it will not be able to prevent a cursed hunt. The Firelight at Tier 3 is now a lantern that can burn for an unlimited amount of time. If you are holding it or standing within 2 meters of it while it is lit, it will slow down sanity drain from being in the dark by 66%. Additionally, you can light and use this one in heavy rain, unlike the other tiered firelights which will immediately be put out. The biggest upgrade to the igniter is that it is now waterproof and can also be used in heavy rain. Just like all other igniters, ghosts can blow it out if they are close by and you have it lit in your active inventory. However, the Tier 3 igniter is no longer consumable, so you will not lose it after using it in an investigation. The Tier 3 headset gives players night vision, and this device does work if flashlights are disabled. This can make it extremely useful on higher custom difficulties, including the Apocalypse Challenge. Be careful though, while it is an electronic and will be detected by the ghost if it is powered on, it does not visibly distort when the ghost is nearby. The Incense can still be used outside of hunts to start a 1.5-minute timer before most ghosts can attempt to hunt again, but it now has a 5-meter effective range, making it easier to hit the ghost with it. If you are trying to hit the ghost outside of hunts, I highly recommend waiting for the ghost to interact with something to confirm you are close enough to the ghost to have the incense work. If you are too far away from the ghost's physical location, the incense will not have any effect and you will not get credit for smudging the ghost if you are trying to get that objective completed. During hunts, using the incense close to the ghost will also stop the ghost in its tracks and prevent it from killing you for 5 seconds. The burn animation lasts for 7.5 seconds now, which can be useful if you're trying to test for a Moroi because it will be frozen for the entire burn duration. You can light off the incense when the ghost is out of range of the smudge, and if the ghost then runs into range of it, the effect will start. However, you cannot hit the ghost with the incense twice by hitting it at the start of the 7.5 seconds, waiting for the ghost to be able to move again, and then hitting it again while the smudge still burns for the last 2.5 seconds. The stun effect only works once per incense. Additionally, the Tier 3 incenses are placeable, meaning you can easily light them while you are not holding them during hunts if you light them with your lighter, allowing you to hold other items in your hands or just have more incense around if you need to loop a ghost during a hunt. Be careful when crouching with the Tier 3 incense. Currently, the hitbox for the incense interferes with movement when crouching, especially when you are swinging it around after lighting it. Thus, it makes it near impossible to run in a straight line while crouching if you're trying to run away from a ghost during a hunt. The Tier 3 Paramic can now detect sounds from 30 meters away, and it will show both the direction and the distance of a sound on the screen when it is detected. This makes it extremely useful for hearing ghosts during hunts, because you can then keep an eye on how far the ghost is from you, so you can stay at a safe distance while still hearing the hunt noises. The Tier 3 photo camera only has less distortion when the ghost is eventing or hunting, and can take photos even faster than the Tier 2. This makes it even more useful during hunts if you're trying to spam for a ghost photo. The Tier 3 Sanity Medication will restore sanity in 10 seconds now, but as always, the amount of sanity it restores is still dependent on your difficulty level. However, this Sanity Medication will also give you unlimited stamina for 10 seconds after taking it as well. This can make it useful during hunts if you need to get away from a ghost and you no longer have smudge sticks. As a warning, the Sanity medication will not give you more stamina if you run out before taking it. So if you are panting and cannot run anymore, do not take the Sanity medication then. Wait until you can start sprinting again, otherwise you will not receive the 10-second unlimited stamina effect. I have heard this is not an intended effect, so hopefully this will be changed in future updates. The sound sensors are still used to listen to and detect sounds from inside the map, but now they have both an adjustable range and an adjustable detection pattern. When you are holding the sound sensor, you can right-click to change the position of the microphones on top to be one of 3 different patterns. By default, it starts with the microphones crossed on the top. When placed with this pattern, the sound sensor will pick up sounds in the classic round radius. When the microphones are separated and facing towards you like this, the pickup pattern will be a triangle that faces in the same direction as the microphones. When the microphones are facing away from each other in a straight line, the pickup pattern will be 2 triangles facing outwards. The range of detection for the Tier 3 sound sensors is the same as Tier 2, so you can change between 5, 10, or 15 meter ranges in the van. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I hope you found this guide useful. If you did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for future content. As always, keep an eye out for any pinned comments about any changes made to the information provided in this video. Happy hunting out there, everyone!